Welcome to another edition of the Willie Bragg Show. I'm your humble host, Willie Bragg. I hope each and every one of you are doing well today. Right now, before I get started, I will do what I normally do and urge each and every one of you to subscribe to this channel on YouTube, on Twitch, on Twitter, and Facebook. And give me a like, comment, and share, and all will be well. How are you today? Well, I would like to see somebody become president that's not a war criminal, but somebody who could be very well running for president in the year 2024 is already pretty much proven to be a war criminal before becoming president, before being sworn in. If this asshole actually ends up getting elected, I'm talking about no other than Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida. I've already hated the guy previously. I mean, he's looking more and more like Jair Bolsonaro of Brazil every day. Who engaged in a torture program when Brazil was under a dictatorship many years ago. Under the Bush-Cheney regime, during the Bush-Cheney era, he oversaw the torture program in Guantanamo Bay. Mansoor Adayfi, and I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, had a chat with Mark Prysner, the husband of Abby Martin from Empire Files. And let's see, what's the name of the is basically this Ron DeSantis military secrets, torture, and war crimes. And before I get into it, we'll play the video in momentarily. We will play that, but I would just a little bit of a spoiler alert, and that is this. I have warned people that if Ron DeSantis is more dangerous. People, I don't want to gloss over and sugarcoat January 6th, okay? I don't want to sugarcoat that at all. I don't want to gloss over and things like the possibility of or the potential of the Insurrection Act that Trump planned to use during the riots that took place 2 years ago. I don't want to do that at all. In fact, I didn't, honestly, I think that was really fucked up. There are people out there that thinks that Ron DeSantis is such a normie that things will get back to normal, and he couldn't be as deranged. Even if you're calm, cool, and collective and normal, and you do fucked up things, isn't that worse? So I have said this, and I'll say it again. Ron DeSantis is everything I hated about the Bush-Cheney era. And he will bring that back, obviously. And everything that is real and projected and false about Trump by liberals. So you're going to get the worst of both worlds with Ron DeSantis. I am warning you all. You're going to get the worst of both worlds with Ron DeSantis. He is a very dangerous man. He is unfit for office. He's decriminalized. He basically decriminalized murdering political opponents based on ideological opposition with the anti-riot law down in Florida. He's in favor of censorship. His so-called anti-woke legislation is an attack on the First Amendment. And he's engaging in a culture war, demonizing the LGBTQ community down in Florida with this stupid and very evil "Don't Say Gay" bill. Ron DeSantis is absolutely one of the worst. And when you have people like Steven Crowder and what's that, Matt Walsh getting enthusiastically behind someone like Ron DeSantis, you know that Ron DeSantis is an awful human being. Just saying. So anyway, let's go ahead and play from the. Let's go ahead. Oops. What did I do that? Yeah. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Yeah, we'll go ahead and play from the video, from a portion of the video from the Empire Files. So give me a moment here, and I'll comment further. And we'll put a little speed on it just for good measure, to say, time constraints.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is your governor speaking. Today's training evolution: dogfighting, taking on the corporate media. The rules of engagement are as follows. Number 1, don't fire unless fired upon. But when they fire, you fire back with overwhelming force. Does it say that in the bill? I'm asking you to tell me what's in the bill. Number 2, never ever back down from a fight.
If I could complete the question, though.
So you gonna give a speech or ask the question? Number 3, don't accept their narrative. Wrong. It's a fake narrative. I just disabused you of the narrative, and you don't care about the facts. It's why people don't trust people like you, because you peddle false narratives. All right, ladies and gentlemen.
Let's get up.
That was a 2022 campaign ad for Ron DeSantis' gubernatorial re-election campaign, which he handily won on November 8th. The ad depicts Ron as a fighter jet pilot, wearing a flight suit, strapping into an aircraft, and taking to the skies. Meant to evoke the Top Gun Maverick character, the ad reveals something pretty interesting. Why is DeSantis cosplaying as an Air Force pilot when he has an actual military background, including a tour with special operations in Fallujah, which he could be playing up instead? After all, Republican voters eat that shit up. It's not just the obfuscation in this ad, but overall, DeSantis is pretty tight-lipped about his actual military service. He made reference to it in his 2018 gubernatorial campaign, but just with the words, quote, Ron DeSantis, Iraq War veteran, in a TV ad. Mailers having photos of him in uniform and reference to it in some speeches that he gave. But without ever going into much detail about what he did, his re-election campaign is similarly vague about his military experience. As far as I could find, he's never elaborated in interviews or speeches. I think there's a reason for that, and not because he just spent his time bored behind a desk. Up until now, details of his military service have been a mystery, but in this episode, you'll hear new exclusive information about his role at Guantanamo Bay with never-before-heard witness accounts of how he personally was complicit in war crimes. With these revelations, we can also learn a little more about his equally obscure role in the Iraq War. I'm your host, Mike Prysner, with you to explore the shadowy military past of Ron DeSantis and why he likely doesn't want to talk about it on today's episode of Eyes Left.
A wholly unjustified and brutal invasion of Iraq. Of Ukraine.
Correct. I'm a hawk. I would have picked up arms myself to prevent 9/11 again.
Eyes left. As president, I wanted to give myself the Congressional Medal of Honor, but they wouldn't let me do it. I said, I'm going to give myself the I've always wanted that.
We just flew B-52 and B-1 bombers in the South China Sea. We're not going to pay attention.
Eyes left.
DeSantis began his career at the Blue Blood Yale University, where he went as an undergrad and was a member of the fraternity Delta Kappa Epsilon. Among his frat brothers are George H.W. Bush, George W. Bush, and Sidney Sowers, the first director of the CIA. He took a year off before going to graduate school to teach at a private boarding high school, where former students recall his pro-Confederacy lessons on the Civil War. I mention that only because it helps us understand his political views at the time he joined the armed forces. His military career would begin as a second-year law student at Harvard, when he was commissioned as an officer in the Navy as part of JAG, or Judge Advocate General Corps, the military's legal system. This was in 2004, and lucky for DeSantis, who was frequently described as handsome, it just happened to be the year the JAG TV show was a big hit.
For a couple of JAG lawyers, Lieutenants Rad and Austin are hot.
Very funny.
And we're talking hot on the trail kind of hot.
This is not a courtroom. It's a battle zone.
Sometimes hot-blooded.
Sir, with all due respect, keep your mouth shut.
Often in hot water.
It could end my career and your life. I'm willing to risk it, sir.
But one thing they're not are just a couple of trick faces. After you. JAG, back-to-back episodes, Sunday beginning at 9 on CMC.
While DeSantis would never live the life of these fictionalized JAG officers, he would end up doing things in his career that would be TV-worthy, but more in the true crime genre rather than action-adventure. His first 2 years in the Navy fall under the painfully mundane. He was in charge of things like urinalysis administration, as in routine drug tests for other service members, as well as physical fitness programs and awards paperwork. But for someone with ambition, elite Ivy League training, and political alignment with the Bush administration, there was much more ahead than being a pencil pusher. In March 2006, DeSantis would get his big break, a deployment to the notorious prison Guantanamo Bay. Until now, it seemed that this assignment was a fairly routine, low-level administrative job, but as we will uncover through this episode, the opposite was true. Now, DeSantis himself has never really said anything about his time at Guantanamo. He frequently mentioned it when he was in Congress, but mainly when he was advocating against the potential closure of the torture camp. In 2016, he wrote on Facebook, quote, "I served at Guantanamo Bay. I know you do not want these terrorists released. Obama is putting his political agenda over the safety of Americans by wanting to close Gitmo and bring terrorists to our homeland," end quote. Basically saying, I've seen these animals firsthand. They don't deserve rights. He flexed his Gitmo experience to speak out in opposition anytime a detainee was released after being held without charge, including the prisoner swap that returned American POW Bo Bergdahl. But his references are always extremely vague. When he first ran for governor in 2018, local press tried to learn more about that deployment, with little luck. First, there were his military records provided by the Navy to the Florida Phoenix in 2018. These described DeSantis' role at Guantanamo as quite minimal administrative work, saying he was responsible for things like courtroom scheduling. But those 40 pages of documents were heavily redacted. When the Florida Phoenix followed up for clarification, the Navy spokesperson told them, quote, "Unfortunately, the specific details about Mr. DeSantis' role are not available," end quote. More was learned that same year when the Tampa Bay Times interviewed several officers who served with him at Gitmo. They said one of his responsibilities there as a JAG lawyer was to, quote, "advocate for the fair and humane treatment of the detainees to ensure the U.S. military complied with the law," end quote. Ron's supervisor, Captain Patrick McCarthy, went on to clarify DeSantis was, quote, "charged with ensuring the detainees received rights afforded to them under the Common Article 3 of the Geneva Convention," end quote. Now, Common Article 3 applies to rights for rebel fighters who are not part of a standing army, like Al-Qaeda. I'll quote from the international law. Quote, "The following acts are and shall remain prohibited at any time and in any place whatsoever: cruel treatment and torture, outrages upon personal dignity, in particular, humiliating and degrading treatment," end quote. Now, when I read this, I thought to myself, something is obviously off. 2006, when DeSantis was there, was the height of the Bush torture program at Gitmo. Could Ron DeSantis, the far-right officer who just 2 years prior was teaching high schoolers to sympathize with the slavocracy and today speaks at events for anti-Muslim hate groups, could someone like him actually have been some kind of protector of detainee human rights, and at a time when illegal torture was actually the policy at the torture camp? Until now, nothing was really known about what DeSantis did for the 10 months he was at the island prison, other than those statements from former colleagues. I knew there had to be more to the story, so on November 17th, I called Mansoor Adayfi, known to DeSantis as Detainee 441. Mansoor, sold to the U.S. by Afghan warlords after 9/11, was a totally innocent teenager, held at Guantanamo Bay from 2002 until 2016, so he has a robust knowledge of life and torture at Gitmo. He told me that not only was DeSantis there for what he called the worst year of his entire imprisonment, but DeSantis was a notorious figure who didn't just know about, but observed and participated in illegal acts of torture and in fact seemed to take great pleasure in their suffering. He reveals that the job of DeSantis was not to ensure human rights were respected, but to ensure that they were violated to the worst degree. Just a warning, the following interview contains some graphic descriptions of torture.
Yes. I mean, you can see what an asshole Ron DeSantis is. And as I said, this man is incredibly dangerous and has no business near the White House. And do not want to see a repeat of the Bush-Cheney era. Not that we ever left the Bush-Cheney era. Obama was a continuation of the Bush-Cheney era. Trump was a continuation of the Bush-Cheney era. And Biden is a continuation of the Bush-Cheney era. But Ron DeSantis' presidency would make it a very profound return to it. And I don't want to ever see this dystopian time period ever repeat again. But I will let's continue.
Mike, it was created out of the legal zone, out of the legal system, out of the humanity. Torture was the mechanism of Guantanamo. Torture, abuse, and experimenting on prisoners of Guantanamo. We went to a massive hunger strike in 2005. I was like over 500 prisoners participated in the hunger strike. And that time, the only way to calm us down was they told us, okay, we're going to talk to listen to your need. We believed them that they would negotiate and talk to us. And we told them that's what we need, But it was a trap, basically. It was a trap. I mean, everything upside down. So we went again on hunger strike wars on force feeding. It was torture. We were bleeding all the time. And I saw a fucking handsome person who was coming and said, I'm here to ensure that you're treating humanely. And we said, okay, this is our demand. We were not asking for much, At the beginning, he was just...
It was Ron DeSantis.
Yes, exactly. The person.
He said, I'm here to ensure you're being treated humanely.
Yes, exactly. And if you have any problems, if you have any concerns, just talk to me. And, we were drowning in that place. I'm like, oh, this is cool. That person actually... writing something, he will raise the concerns, but it was piece of the game. What they were doing, they were looking what's hurt you more to use against you. By the end of 2005, 2006, when he was there, was the worst time at Guantanamo, literally. The group who was in the administration, the interrogators, the guards, the administration, all of them were the worst. And they cracked on us so hard. And when they came to break out hunger strike, we went again on force feeding. A team came to us, a general, the head of the team, he was a general, and he said, we were on hunger strike, and he said, the first day, he said, I am here. I have a job. I was sent here to break your fucking hunger strike. I do not care why you're here. I don't care who you are. My job, sir, here to make you eat. Today we are talking. Tomorrow there will be no talking. The second day, I swear by my God, Mike, they brought piles of Ensure and they start force feeding us over and over again.
For those who don't know, Ensure is a thick, milky nutritional shake mainly marketed on daytime television to elderly people. I've had them and they are very hard to drink.
Yes, and Ron DeSantis was there and watching us. We were crying, screaming. We were tied to the feeding chair. And that guy, he was watching that, he was laughing basically. When they used to feed us, because our stomach cannot hold this amount of Ensure. They used to pour Ensure one can after another. So when he approached me, I said, this is the way we are treated. You should start to eat. I threw up in his face, literally on his face.
Ron DeSantis.
His face, yeah.
Mansoor vomiting on DeSantis' face in a desperate cry for help was well-deserved. The JAG lawyer would have been well aware at the time that this was indeed a violation of international law, in particular, Common Article 3, which we reviewed earlier. There's no...
Yeah, throwing up at Ron DeSantis' face was very well deserved. Yes, and you couldn't throw up enough at that man's face. But anyway,
the question that it was torture, and the UN Human Rights Commission further clarified that it regarded the force feeding at Guantanamo Bay as a form of torture. The World Medical Association also specifically prohibited force feeding in its Declaration of Tokyo in 1975.
They used to, restrain us in the feeding chair, which like 8 points. They tied our heads, our shoulder, our wrist, our thighs, and our legs. And they came, and what really fixed you, they call it French 17 or something, below our nose. And they keep doing this over and over again, and they put some kind of laxative in the feeding liquid. We shit in ourselves all the time. Then we would be moved to solitary confinement, really cold cells. If we throw up, and we used to get it like 5 times a day. It wasn't feeding. It was torture. So we couldn't handle it for 5 or 5 days. We couldn't, because 5 times a day you cannot possibly handle it, because they just kept pouring the Ensure. And in 1 week they break all the hunger strikers. In 1 week, totally. It was a mission, and he was there. All of them was watching. The colonel, officers, doctors, nurses, and not just that. They used to also beat us. And if we scream or pain, bleeding came over our nose and mouth, they were like, eat. The only word they told you, eat. We were beating all day long, all day. There's a team. Whatever you do, they just beat you. Pepper spray, beating, sleep deprivation, that continued for 3 months. And he was there because at the beginning he told us that he was there to ensure we are treated humanely, and if we have concern with issues, he will take it. But he's one of the people who actually survived the torture, the abuse, the beating all the time at Guantanamo.
So Ron DeSantis, he wasn't just there as like a lawyer that you could go to. He was actually supervising torture, beatings, and he was supervising these force feedings of you and others.
Ron DeSantis was there all the time because his job to walk around and talk to prisoners. And the camp, that was his job, because he report, like, I am here to ensure you're being treated humanely. I'm telling Americans, if this is humanity, this guy is torture, is a criminal. So when someone comes to talk to us, like, I'm trying to help you, and we were complaining, because we thought, okay, that's not work. Then when we saw him there, I told her when he came to approach me when I was first feeding, like, asked us to eat, he said it's better to eat. And he was laughing, so I guess I threw up in his face. And he was there to ensure we were treated humanely.
And you say that while Ron DeSantis was observing you were strapped to a chair, they were pouring can after can of Ensure down a tube through your nose. You were obviously in distress, right? At the time, it was obvious to Ron DeSantis that you were in pain. And you say that he was actually laughing during this procedure?
Yes, I mean, like, they were asking us to eat because they took our hunger strike as it was a challenge, and they went to break it because when he was there, they were looking at us and laughing because also we were shooting in ourselves. And he was laughing because when he was like screaming and yelling because when your stomach full of Ensure, you couldn't breathe. And you throw up at the same time. Also, there was bleeding coming off my nose because the tube they brought, really thick tube. It's not like the real one. At the beginning, they brought a small one. Then the really big one has like a piece of metal in the end. It was hurt like hell. And I was screaming, like, when I was screaming, I look at him. And he was actually smiling like as someone who enjoying it. When he came close, I just threw up in his face because I was throwing up all the way. And I get punished. They took my clothes after this is the memory of this person. When I shared his photo with the brothers, we have what's a group from Guantanamo prisoners.
I will put the link down, but as you can see in this video, what he just described happened. I played it on a kind of a faster speed, just for time constraints. But right there, he was supposed to go as a military, as a naval lawyer, JAGS, supposed to go there and to oversee the concerns of the prisoners, but he was doing just the opposite. And during the hunger strike, they were strapped to a chair. They were being force fed Ensure through the nose, mixed with laxatives. So they were vomiting, they were shitting on themselves. They were in the coal cells as well. They were beaten. I mean, these people are fucking animals. These people are fucking animals. I mean, the people that they claim that they're fighting, the evil that they claim that they're fighting, they're stooping down to that level, and just. I want nothing more than to see someone like Ron DeSantis rot in prison when hearing about this. I want nothing more than to see him put on trial. I still want to see George W. Bush and Dick Cheney arrested. I still want to see John Bolton arrested. I still want to see those motherfuckers arrested. But I add Ron DeSantis to that list. Add Ron DeSantis to that list. This man is fucking evil, and God knows what kind of people he would put slam the courts with, and to hear people say that Florida was this area of extreme freedom and liberty. He is a fucking tyrant. What right-wing people call liberty is not liberty. It really drives me crazy when they say liberty, and it's liberty for right-wingers, I guess. But liberty to right-wingers means, torture. It means silencing your political opponents. It means revenge politics. It means inflicting harm on people that you disagree with. It means protecting the rich and powerful. It means obsession with crime and with punishment. Ron DeSantis is a dangerous man. He is a fascist. And if for no other reason to be glad on free speech grounds, you don't have to like Donald Trump, but on free speech grounds, I'm glad Donald Trump's back on Twitter. I don't follow him. I will not follow him. But I am looking forward to the Twitter battles between Ron DeSantis and Donald Trump. And, I'm looking forward to, and I am going to be rooting for Donald Trump to beat him down the way he beat down Jeb Bush and Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio back in 2016. And that doesn't mean that I like Donald Trump, but it does mean this. just like Ted Cruz was worse than Donald Trump, and just like Jeb Bush, as quiet and mousy as he was worse than Donald Trump, and Marco Rubio is worse than Donald Trump. This guy is worse than all of them. He's worse than Ted Cruz. He's worse than, Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz don't believe in torture. He's actually on record of not believing in torture because his father was tortured in Cuba. Whatever you may think of Cuba. But the point is, and I don't care why he is opposed to torture, the fact that he is opposed to torture, and Donald Trump called him a pussy for it in 2016 in the primaries. But Ron DeSantis not just backed torture, but he was enthusiastic and gleeful about it. A sadistic son of a bitch that he is. Anyway, I'm going to put down the link for the Empire Files. That's Abby Martin and her husband. That was her husband. They interviewed Mansoor Adayfi, Mark Prysner, who's a veteran of the Iraq War and shot down George W. Bush at an event last year. Very based, very, very based. So anyway, I am going to make this video just a little bit short today. And so we have here on the chat line, Dirtbag-Left, how are you doing? Andy Left is going to say DeSantis is a lesser evil in 2024. I don't think so. Let's see. I might vote for Trump in the primaries if DeSantis runs against him, and as an unaffiliated, I can vote in that primary if I want. I would say this: enjoy the show. Get some popcorn and enjoy the show. It's going to be fun seeing them slam on each other. It's going to be fun seeing Ron DeSantis and Donald Trump slam on each other, and you're going to get a good laugh out of this. Honestly, you will get a good laugh out of this. So, as I said, the man has no business near the White House. None whatsoever. None whatsoever. Anyway, I am going to I'm going to take care of a few things right now. Last night I was on Extra Bulia with Warren Dearman, and was up there, I guess, about an hour and a half. So that was fun. Next week I'll be co-hosting What with Jimmy Sutherland, 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. It'll be 10 o'clock in California for her. We'll be co-hosting the program together. So that should be fun. Looking forward to that. And let me conclude by saying to you all, if you like what you heard, please press like and comment. And if you disagree, we'll have a comment. We'll have a conversation. Feel free to share the content on this channel. As a First Amendment absolutist, it's my duty to inform you to create your own platform and utilize it, because we are, in fact, the muckrakers of our time. Subscribe to this channel. Hit that notification bell. Follow me on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Facebook. Remember to always support independent media. Always reject corporate media because they have absolutely nothing to offer to us. And until next time, I will conclude by saying to you all, music. Y'all have a great day.